welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. So today, we're going to go over with the issues within AEW itself. Now, before we get started in today's video, if you guys are new, make sure you hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button. Make sure to ring that notification bell so you guys will not miss new streams and or videos. And with that being said, let's jump right into the video. What is going on, wrestling fans? So 2023 for AEW has not been the best, so to speak. Quite honestly, it has, it's been hard to really get into in terms of digesting the product. Each and every week, whether it's every Wednesday for Dynamite, every Friday for Rampage, and definitely every Saturday for Collision. Which we'll get to all to that. Biggest glaring issue, I guess we can really kind of kickstart this off, is AEW and Tony Khan's mismanagement of the women's division. It's kind of hard to explain. And look, I have shared my criticisms with the women's division. And yeah, you got some up and coming stars like Sky Blue. Julia Hart has been okay has been solid in the ring. And yeah, you also had dealt with some lot of backstage bullying that we saw to be part of kicking off 2023. Then you have not just women itself, but looking at how they're doing with the champions. Besides the TBS, I thought they actually doing pretty solid with Chris Statlander, which that's kind of irrelevant. But in terms of the AEW Women's World Championship, really does not mean much because you had Saraya Holder since Wembley. They've been flipping back and forth with these interim tags, and sometimes for different reasons. First time we go around with Toni Storm, obviously, with someone was I think of whether. Can't remember who got I don't know if it was an injury, but someone let me know in the comments. But yeah, the interim thing I'm not a huge fan of that. AEW it just seems to me like you got like some solid names in the women's division, but you're not really using them. Case in point, like Athena, who's been doing some great work as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Still haven't seen her on Dynamite as of lately, because let's be real, I think Athena could be one of those women that division really needs. But then again, at the same time, going back to my point that Tony Khan is going to really mismanage it. They're playing pretty much hot potato with the Women's World Championship through Sheeta at one point, couple times. Saraya, because we gave her because they were in London, which honestly that's a bunch of bullshit. Basically, like I said, there's just a lot of things that this women's division obviously just has not been impressive to watch as of recently. And you can tell they, especially with AEW, that really the crowd doesn't really give two shits, so to speak, about women's wrestling, because anyone gets a crowd reaction nowadays, especially if you watch AEW's product as of recently. And that also kind of leads to me to believe, or not believe, but you can see that this company does not have a creative writing team. Now, you're probably wondering, or you're asking me, like, what is a creative writing team? Well, when you look at the wrestling business as a whole, they do have a thing called, or they do have a team of creative writers that can help, build storylines, figure out what the end game is, how to progress it, push certain superstars, that sort of thing. And that's where you're seeing each and every week, especially in 2023, that they don't have a writing team where it's all over the place. In short, basically, is what I'm saying. And that stems back to Tony Khan not really has too much on his plate. Like I said, we're going to mention Ring of Honor as well because they're kind of tied into this. Speaking of Ring of Honor, though, it's kind of the same thing because it's pretty much AEW and Ring of Honor kind of just tied into one, and that's where the biggest issue that I do have with AEW is like they're having some of their stars either from Dynamite, Collision, sometimes Rampage, go to Ring of Honor because let's be real, Tony Khan doesn't know how to build a friggin' roster as soon as he bought Ring of Honor. I think Athena's doing some solid good work. Willow actually is when she wrestles on Ring of Honor, which is she actually put some solid matches. You got some up-and-comers like Lady Frost has been impressive. just to name a few. But that also stems to the fact that ROH doesn't have a creative writing team either. They pretty much rely on a 10-match format with an occasional break here and there. And like I said, AEW/Ring of Honor has been all over the frickin' place. And honestly, that's on Tony Khan not really stepping up as an owner and realizing, oh, shit, I need a creative writing team to really get a lot of stuff done. Moving on, I think this is probably the most big issue. But no surprise that their attendance has been lackluster. The marketing hasn't really been that great, so to speak. Like I said, there's a lot of things, a lot of wrestling fans like myself can nitpick, but the poor attendance has got pretty much a lot of people talking, and not in the most good way, and rightfully so, because AEW deserves to get a lot of criticism, because, let's be real, their attendance has been nothing but crap. And the marketing hasn't really been that great either, and that's kind of stems the fact that if you have poor marketing, you're not going to draw a lot of eyes in. Case in point, when you look at AEW's very first show in Washington, D.C. on, I think, October 2019, they actually had really something good going for them. They had a nice crowd. I thought they marketed pretty solidly on the first night on television for the first time in what felt like, the first time in almost 20 years. That a wrestling program, it has been on TNT, besides the point. But as time is going on with AEW in their attendance, especially in 2023, has not really been great. You see, even throughout social media, that people are sharing screenshots of seats are not getting filled. Whereas there's it's a hard cam area and stuff like that. We've seen. Like, hardly anybody shows up. It shows up for Rampage and or Collision tapings, which is glaringly obvious that we'll get to in just a minute. That the attendance is pretty much what's hurting AEW from a money standpoint. But speaking with Collision and Rampage, and that's another thing too that I think a lot of people should really have a discussion about this. They got way too many fucking shows. Yeah, I mean, before 2023, they had to cut away AEW Dark, which is pretty much, how do I explain it? It's not like, it's like a secondary show, but it's only on the YouTube side of things. And I know it was kind of convoluted. But Collision has the ratings has been fucking, and that applies to all of the shows. Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, each and every week. The ratings have not been great. As you saw, I think this past week, Collision only had 250,000. Was it 400? I think it might have been. Some of them, no. I'm pretty sure it's over 250,000 viewers. And let's be real, that's not great. When you're especially, yes, I know it's a Saturday, and that's where the problem stems. It's like it's hard to really sustain a show that you were going to try to get people invested each and every Saturday night at 8 o'clock from 8 to 10, that sort of thing. But it also sends back to with the CM Punk situation. Like I said, I'm not going to really go into much detail. You can probably look this up for yourself. But the short version of it is CM Punk, Jack Perry had a fucking little scuffle at All Out, or All In, I should say. Apologies. That when CM Punk gets fired, you could tell that show quality because that was CM Punk's show was Collision, was some earlier with others with like I think FTR actually is kind of like a mainstay. Like I said, I really don't know because I haven't really watched Collision as of recently, and they should tell you right then and there that Collision's been it's really not getting invested to a lot of people. Rampage, for whatever freaking reason, I don't know what Tony Khan was thinking, have that at 10 o'clock time slot when we're going to go against Friday Night SmackDown at the same time, which was a bad idea to begin with. But no one really cares for Rampage because it's pretty much the way I look at it, or I can describe it a couple times, is they just throw shit through. It's like pretty much throwing something on the wall to make it stick. It's ridiculous, quite honestly. It's like they're throwing matches together that does not have little to very no substance to it. Like I said, the shows have not been great. Dynamite's been lackluster, which kind of that brings me to another point, is that they're very reckless in terms of how they put their matches together. Case in point, you have, and yeah, I know, like I said, I'm not gonna really say Bryan Danielson's injury prone, but in case like someone like Bryan Danielson, who has a good resume as a professional wrestler, but they're just getting reckless, and you're seeing he had a broken orbital. I think right now he's dealing with another injury I can't think of at the moment. And you're just having guys are just getting hurt very quickly. You had Sammy Guevara suffering a concussion at Wrestle Dream, and who knows when he's going to be back. There's a lot of things, especially from the wrestling side of things, that the wrestlers, it's very reckless. Like I said, that goes back to the thing with Tony Khan, like I said, not stepping up and actually putting some, not say sanctions, but kind of limit of how far they can push themselves. Because you have, like I said, going back to Bryan Danielson, who's in his late 30s, right now in his early 40s, and this is last year in the biz before he hangs up the boots and calls it a career. And then you have Jon Moxley, who, for whatever reason, now yes, I know a lot of people remember Moxley back from his CZW days, and that kind of brings me to my next point, that they're overusing blood and hardcore style type of matches, which no one gives a two shits about. And that goes back to what I've said about Moxley. Like he comes from the hardcore deathmatch niche, so to speak. But the problem is with Mox, you can't sit through any AEW matches with him. Like the first 5 minutes, he still find ways to bleed or find a way to, and they show other, and the production has been shaky, I would say, the last year and a half or so with AEW. Just because, perfect instance, sticking with Mox, they show Mox blading literally on live TV. AEW's just been all over the place, whether it's reckless, careless with the wrestlers' injuries, not using the women's division to their fullest potential. They need to get a creative writing team. The marketing's been freaking crap. That really reflects in the attendance, that sort of thing. And you can also put this on one man, and that's on Tony Khan. Tony Khan, he wants... Look, trust me, before I go on, look, I want AEW to succeed. Don't get me wrong. Look, I can be the biggest supporter and or critic of this company. But the fact of the matter is, Tony Khan has not done anything to fix these problems, to get people back to what this company could be when they first started in 2019. Had solid, fast-paced matches. You'll have an occasional hardcore match here and there, but not too overused to extend the last year and a half, I'd say the last couple of years. But Tony Khan just seems to be fan first, then owner second. You see what I'm saying? That's where the issue I have. That's just where I have the issues with Tony Khan as an owner. Now, whether you agree to or disagree that Tony Khan could also be a bit of an issue, that can be interesting. You guys can let me know in the comments. Do you think Tony Khan is even fit to run AEW? Because I think that should be another conversation to have at another point. But I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. So, all in all, AEW has a lot of stuff to fix, because right now it's not looking good. Whether you're watching Dynamite every Wednesdays, Rampage, or Collisions, the pay-per-views, which actually I want to talk about before we get, as my last point. The pay-per-views, I don't think no one's ever watching the pay-per-views, because let's be real, no one's paying $50 a month for pay-per-views. Or a couple of months, depending on what their schedule is looking like. Well, you have, other companies like WWE, you have Peacock for $10 a month. You can, you can get $50 worth of WWE pay-per-views. You get 5 for $10 a month. Where you have AEW, it's just 1 for $50 a month. And like I said, there's a lot of things that AEW has to fix. But all in all, what do you guys think? Do you think Tony Khan, at some point, do you guys think Tony Khan is not fit to run AEW? Because if so, if not, or if so, let me know in the comment sections down below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.